Without further ado, welcome the next presenter, who is Mihai Streza, the CEO of Wondder. Big round of applause, please.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here, for taking the time. And now for something completely different. If the clicker works, do I need to point this at something? No. OK. Thank you. My name is Mihai Streza. I'm the founder of Wondder. I have been in computer science for a little over 30 years. I started in 1991 with my first computer. And I have been in personal development and leadership development for exactly 20 years. I started out in 2003. Consciousness development, human development, if you wish. And now, this is the question for me, my vision, and for today for you as well. What are we all doing here? You know, what are we using our time for? We have, on average, about 80,000 hours in our lives that we put into our careers. There's some beautiful research from Cambridge around this. And if you work a lot on personal development, leadership development, you come to this question very quickly. What am I using my life for? This is a finite number, and it's very small. What do I do with that time? And you come very quickly to the bottom line, to the root. You know, my vision and the vision of Wondder is to contribute to a world where we have a lot more happy, healthy, and successful people. And it sounds blunt, but this is what it is. Across the street from here, the United Nations, they formulated the Sustainable Development Goals, right? I happened to be there when they were doing that here across the street in Vienna and in New York. I was in an initiative called Sustainable Energy for All. These goals say exactly the same thing. We want a world where people do better. Right? And they don't answer the question, and Ban Ki-moon said back then, they're aspirational. So what does that mean? Well, it means, wouldn't it be nice if we would reach this? Who do we need to be and to become in order to have a chance at solving these? Because nobody's dealing with that question, or very little people. Look around, like what's going on? We have climate change, we have wars, we have social inequality, we have these so-called hard problems that stand between where we are today and a world with more happy, healthy, and successful people, right? And developmental psychology tells us that we need about 10% of the population to work on themselves, to evolve their thinking, to move to the next level of thinking, of mindset, of consciousness, to facilitate global change. And this is, again, you might be wondering, well, what are we talking about? Because we want to see ARR, and you know, we're at a VR conference. What are you spending your time on? Even if you see this speech as subversive and it has nothing to do with anything, what are you spending your life on? What do you do with all your skills to help this? 10% of the population is 800 million people. How do you want to help them transform fast? And that's where technology comes into place for me as a technology guy. We'll have around 2030 about 1 billion headsets, VR headsets in the world. And those are devices that give you access to the most transformative technology we have ever seen until now. So what we can do, we can bring the tools that work, that already exist, transformational tools for personal transformation, into virtual reality. This is my third company, so I know that it also needs to be financially successful. Financially successful, not just viable. If you're not successful financially as a company, you have no right to exist. It means that the world doesn't need you. So we take the leeway through B2B, working at the top, working with the leadership, doing leadership development. This is what we sell. This is what we've been selling for 4 years. We made revenue since year one, which was 2020. Last month, we had the first month where we were cash flow positive. So we provide these trainings, transformational trainings in virtual reality to enterprises. They use it for leadership training. And then it trickles down. -1, level -1, -2, then it goes to the millions of employees worldwide. Then it goes to B2C later on, in about 5 to 10 years. We open this up to B2C so that everybody can work on themselves with these tools. And you know all the advantages, and it was mentioned before, the studies that were done, PwC did 1 year ago. We're doing the same one with Accenture now. We're creating this. So to close with, we work with over 50 global corporations who use these trainings to transform their leadership in 12 countries until now. this is working. We've seen in these 3-4 years now that the technology works and it does what we thought it would. We've seen that it's incredibly scalable, and we've seen that people are ready to use it. So this is the point. We don't have an ask. We raised the fund in the second quarter of this year. We will, as per our fundraising strategy, will raise another one next year. So we're interested in connecting with people who connect with this mission so that we make a difference and don't just play around with the little time we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Big fan of the brand name, by the way, so good choice. I was wondering in terms of the courses, so you say it's leadership development. How did you establish these courses? How can you keep it up to date, and how do the clients respond to the courses that you have rolled out?
It's really interesting. If you if you work in personal development, leadership development, two things become apparent after a while. First of all, they're the same topics. They're always the same topics. Personal development, if you think of Anthony Robbins and all these crazy motivational speakers, and then you go to leadership development, Bob Keegan and all the Harvard professors, you go under the surface and they're the same topics. It's about 10 to 12 topics. This is what makes this business so incredibly scalable. Now, on the business side, it's incredibly scalable on the transformational side, also on the business side. So you have about 12 topics. Perspective taking, perspective seeking, the communication topics, giving feedback, navigating difficult conversations. You put them all together, it's only about 12 topics, right? So you only need to create what we're doing. We already have about half of those. So we're creating a library of these. We bring in people and institutions who can give us the validation. So we work with Harvard University and we work with IMD Lausanne, with the business schools and so on. So that all the stuff comes from research and from these big names, not from us. But the topics are limited. And then everybody in the world, be it a company or a person, can use these topics. And the companies do have, we get questions around a lot, yeah, but companies want customization. Yes, sometimes they do want customizations, and with the pipeline that we've developed, we just onboarded Airbus. We customized, it took us 3 weeks to customize what we had to exactly what they wanted for their leadership development. That's nothing, you know. So with the AI tools that we have and with the pipeline, the way we built it, we can customize incredibly quickly. And that's why we're not building content every single time. We get inquiries about, can you create a training for fire safety in virtual reality? We can, but we won't, because that's not the business model. The business model is we have building blocks, and we sell these again and again and again to corporates and then to B2C.
Talk to me a little bit about competition and what makes you stand out from competition, because this is probably the busiest space there is in VR and B2B VR.
I really love that question, because we get that a lot in a different form. You know, what's your competitive advantage? People like to ask, or investors like to ask. And in the meantime, I came to the point where I say, it's very simple and it's not going to blow your mind. We have 3 of them. First of all, we have products. Second, these products work. And third, global corporations are paying money to use them. And it sounds kind of silly, because everybody assumes, well, everybody does that. Like, no. We have a spreadsheet with at least 100 names in it of companies who say they do training in virtual reality. So we're watching the market very closely. You go through those, you'll find out very quickly that about 70% don't have anything. They have a website, and you approach them. What do you have? What can we use tomorrow? Well, if you have a concept, then we can discuss and we'll create it, and we're very good at that and so on. So about 70% fall out of it. So the market looks busy if you Google for VR training. If you go into market research, 70% fall out because they have nothing. They're just fishing for clients. Then you have, from the remaining 30%, I would say about a third, they have some products that don't work. Like, this is something that's unacceptable. You download the installation files and you install them, and they don't work. You know, I don't want to name names, but I can tell you after that if you want to. You can go to their website. And then you have a very, very small segment who then gives the stuff away for free because it's not good enough, right? And they'll have names like the ones before, but they've done it with giving it away for free. So if you go through these 3 filters, you know, you go through the mom testing. The mom testing is, well, go to your mom, oh, I painted a painting, you know, isn't it beautiful? Yeah, it's beautiful. Will you give me 10 euros for it? Go away. You know, you go through this mom testing of startups, and you have actually very little players. And from those players, a couple of them are in the US, and they're trying to sort out the US market. A couple of the biggest ones are potential buyers for us. That's part of our exit scenario, a potential exit scenario. And the ones in Europe, they just don't do a good job. There's a good one that focuses on education, so they're not revenue driven, and a few ones who just try out. There's also